Okay, well, this is try number 3. Lucky number 3. Thank you so much for the patience. Having you as a guest on this podcast has been one of our dreams because you've been such an influential and inspiring person in our life and in our journey. And when I look back, truly, I say the only reason that we are blessed to be out on land today is because of our first time we ever went out to White Oak Pastures. That was just such a life-changing aha moment where we said, if there's anything that we ever get to do, if we ever have the opportunity to do even just a fraction of a percentage of what Will Harris and the White Oak Pastures crew is doing, I think that's the highest purpose in our life. So thank you for that gift.
It blew up in my face. I thought I was going to get you all to move to White Oak Pastures.
It's not off the table.
Yeah, we're trying to find Robbie, who's our co-founder at Force of Nature, and he was our CFO at Epic. When we first went out there, you were going to find him a bride to marry.
Well, he did pretty well on his own. I don't think I could have helped that situation.
Well, okay, so our friendship and our story goes way back. I think it's important for any good friendship to have a good origin story. And so this is like a story that you could tell around a campfire. And then our story kind of does start around a campfire. So how about we go all the way back to Zimbabwe many, many moons ago? How did we meet?
It literally started around campfire. So I was taking my holistic management training on Alan Savory's ranch in Zimbabwe. And everybody there was in their 30s, 20s, 30s. I doubt if anybody was 40. Maybe Jason was, but not many. And there was 2 old men in their 60s there, me and Jeff from Australia. And we were the old men in the party, but we opened it up every morning at breakfast and closed it down every night, looking by the fire. And everybody had gone to bed, but Jeff and I, and we were sitting out by the fire, having a little drink. And this beautiful young couple walked up. It looked like Snow White and Prince Charming. And I kind of fell in love with them, and we've been together ever since. It was the young founders of Epic, and just been a beautiful, beautiful friendship.
I remember I was a little starstruck at that moment. I mean, what were the chances of running into Will Harris in Africa?
Yeah, this was the farthest that we'd ever been away from our homes. Probably the farthest you'd ever been away from your home. We're in the middle of nowhere. We weren't even in Africa to go to the Digongombe Center for Holistic Management. We were there because we were climbing Mount Kilimanjaro. And we were friends with the Savory people, kind of got connected into that network. And Alan had always said, hey, if you're ever in the area, come out and visit us. And I think he was just being polite. I didn't think he thought we would actually show up. But we were in the area, and so we literally swung by and we met you. So if that's not fate, if that's not destiny, I don't know what is.
Meant to be. Meant to be.
Definitely meant to be.
Meant to be. And so there's a little bit of a rumor that when you were in Zimbabwe, that you went to Victoria Falls, and that you bungee jumped off the top of Victoria Falls. I just can't imagine that being true. Is that real?
Did you wear a shirt?
Yeah, I did. Everybody was going to, but only 2 of us did. Me and a young lady there. That was a high place doesn't bother me.
Is that the first time that you've done that?
It was. Yeah.
I like that you're doing it.
I have no fear of a high place. I'm very claustrophobic. I don't want to get up under anything, but I love a good high place. It always occurs to me to jump off of it.
Were you ever in Zimbabwe or when you were in Africa, did you ever find yourself feeling vulnerable to predation, to being a meal of one of the many apex predators running around Alan Savory's ranch out there?
I guess, no, that just didn't cross my mind. No, did you think about it?
Constantly. It's all I was thinking about.
I mean, To be true, we went out running in the mornings because that was kind of our deal. And I remember Trey was like, "You guys are insane. You're loco for running around here in lion country." And Trey said, "If you guys are committed to doing this, either go out in groups or run with bed sheets attached to your body so you appear larger."
Wow.
So we did.
Yeah, and we saw a pack of wild dogs in the wild that morning, that was really cool. That was definitely a highlight of the trip. But then we also, and I think you met, you remember meeting Dojiway?
The elephant.
No, I don't.
Oh, I'm sure you did.
That big old elephant, that rescue elephant, Dojiway.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I'm not, yeah, I do remember the little elephant. Yeah. In fact, we rode on it, didn't we? Didn't we ride on an elephant? I was a little elephant.
Perhaps.
We rode on it.
I think so.
Yeah, we did. We rode on the elephant.
Well, that was a really sweet elephant, but when we were walking through town, is it called Victoria Falls? It was the Victoria Falls town. Whenever we were actually physically walking through there was one point where all these locals just literally started hiding behind cars and jumping behind bushes, and it was because there was a troop, is that what they're called? Troops of elephants that had come in that were really aggressive, and they were killing people in the town. And Taylor and I were like, "Oh, elephants, cool. Why are these people hiding? Dojiway is so sweet." So anyway, that was like a second time that we were terrified of the wild animals.
Yeah, no doubt. Well, Will, we wanted to have you on the podcast. I mean, you're just a beloved supplier of ours at Force of Nature and a good friend. And we just wanted to kind of dive into some stories and some tales and some quirks, some things that you don't typically talk about on podcasts because people don't know the right questions to ask you. And so the first question
Well, I will just say, you have an incredible story. I feel like you can, people can find it pretty much anywhere. You've been on tons of podcasts. You've been on the Joe Rogan podcast. People can go and listen to your story on that. But we wanted to dive into things like a little bit, I want to say, more personal. More personal stuff.
More personal. And the first one is pretty personal. And I think anyone who's ever corresponded with you, you're easy to get a hold of. You respond to emails. But if someone writes you an email, they're going to get a response. And it might freak them out a little bit at the beginning because it's going to be in all caps and probably some exclamation marks. And it appears as if you're yelling or pissed off on your end of the computer. Now, why is your caps lock button broken on your computer keyboard, or what's going on there?
Yeah, I'm not sure I even know where that is. I do. I just don't. I never learned how to type, so I type with two fingers, and I found it when I was first figuring out the keyboard and responding to people. It was so inconvenient to reach over there and make the capital letter. So I just locked. When I found out there was a caps lock, I took advantage of it. And I certainly don't intend to sound like I'm yelling at people. I don't yell at people too much. And you said exclamation points. I don't think I've ever used an exclamation point. I just.
I've been misinterpreted several of your emails based on them being in all caps, thinking you were mad, angry. And then I'd have to have somebody else reread them and try to break them down.
I hadn't been angry in a long time. I
don't know. We were on an email thread, or maybe it was a text thread, maybe like 6 months ago, where you were pretty mad.
Yeah,
I didn't say I've never been angry.
Not today. So if you're all caps on email, I think text message too, right? All caps?
Yeah.
Okay, so text message. What if you're going to write like a poem or a love letter to your wife? Is that all caps?
My wife would divorce me if I wrote her a love letter or a poem because she would know I was guilty of something I was trying to make up for it. We've been married since 1977. How long is that like? How many years is that? 40 years. So
I'm very bad at mental math.
It would be very telling of something if I started writing poems and love letters and shit after that period of time.
It'd be off brand. Okay. So then to wrap that up, I've never been more excited about the release of a book that's coming out, and you have a book coming out, and it's everyone's anticipated. I pre-ordered it, and so it should be here any day. Honestly, I'm gonna binge read it. But is that in all caps?
No, but I didn't actually do. I dictated it. I didn't write it. They hired the Penguin Random House hired a lovely young lady who's the same age as my middle daughter to write the book. And I fell kind of in love with her a little bit. She's a sweetheart. Her name is Amy Lee Graven. She's from England originally, lives in California now. And she writes books for other people. That's what she does. She's done several. And she was just brilliant. And you know, I don't know whether she is this incredibly smart or has some sort of computer program that helped her. But she came and spent a lot of time here. But then we had a Friday afternoon date every Friday afternoon by phone, 1 to 3 hours. I was exhausted when we get through. And it was her asking me questions. And then they weren't one-word questions. I'd have to tell of a story. And she would ask me a question, and I would respond. She said, "Wait a minute, you told me," and would quote exactly what I had said about another situation that seemed contrary to what I was telling her that day. And I'd say, "Whoa, no, that's a different scenario," and I'd explain it to her. But I can't believe she had that kind of recall. If she does, she's brilliant. She is brilliant, but I got to believe there's some sort of computer program that triggered back and forth somehow.
Maybe she's AI.
Yeah, did you actually meet her?
Oh yeah, she came in. She spent a lot of time here.
I mean, you can still be. Maybe she's a robot.
that
you know, AI to me is artificial insemination.
I know.
When I was at the University of Georgia, we learned in the 1970s, not 1870s. We had courses in AI, and then at that time it was artificial insemination, and we learned how to do that.
I like the hand movement.
That's sign language. So kind of like backing up just a step about how you say you just like cool as a cucumber, really mellow temper, never mad. One time I heard you, or maybe this was actually in a text thread.
This was the text thread I was referring to.
You said something along the lines of, in the South, when you refer to someone, you called someone having an alligator mouth with a hummingbird ass. And you said that's what we say in the South. And that was kind of, I'd say, aggro. But what does that mean? What is an alligator mouth with a hummingbird ass?
Well, I mean, I think it speaks for itself. A lot of talk and not much torque behind it.
I feel like it's a good phrase. We should pick that up here in Texas.
Yeah, absolutely. But we don't have alligators.
It's been around for a long time.
That is funny. We'd have to modify that mosquito ass, and what would the mouth be? I mean, we got a million things that bite you, but nothing that's scary as an alligator.
Rattlesnake?
Yes, a rattlesnake mouth, mosquito ass. That's what we're going to say.
It's our Texas version.
Thanks for adding some clarity on that. I hope people can add that to their repertoire of insults now who are listening to this show.
Profoundly Southern. That would fall in the category of profoundly Southern.
Absolutely. Okay, so another thought that I just want to visit is one of the first times we ever met you. I mean, we're ride or die flip-flop people. You know, here in the studio, Katie, myself, Morgan from Force of Nature, we're all wearing flip-flops. And when we went out to White Oak Pastures, you were just like disgusted. I thought maybe right then and there you were just going to say, beat it, we're not selling you any beef. But you just hung in there, and then we got to talking about it, and you said, like, if someone ever wears flip-flops to work, to me that either says that A, they're not going to work, or B, they're lazy, or something along those lines. Have you reversed that position yet now that there's an emerging trend of flip-flops, especially in agriculture?
No, not really. I mean, if you anyway, I think that I recounted that day. I recounted to you that one of my managers showed up wearing flip-flops, and I told him that when you do that, you send a crystal clear message to me, your boss, and all your employees. I ain't gonna do shit today. And that is not a good message to send.
So I agree. That's a terrible message to send. I feel, I mean, Alan Savory might take that to a whole nother level because that guy's, I think, owned the same pair of shoes since 1977. Because most of the time he's barefoot. So do you find a distinction in barefoot versus flip flop out in a pasture?
Alan Savory could probably throw a beer bottle down on asphalt and stomp it into little pieces without cutting his foot. I'm wearing a pair of double D Roper boots right now, and Alan Savory's foot is probably as tough as this boot is.
He's quite an amazing man. When we were there and we went to his little hut, he was working on the computer that morning and came out and he had some wasp stings on his face. And we were like, "Holy shit! Is your face okay? You look a little deformed." And he was like, "No, those are the wasps that sting me 3 times a week." You remember that?
Yeah.
He just lets them be. And yeah, walking around no shoes on out there.
He definitely takes.
He wrote a little blurb from a book. I sent him an email and asked him would he write a little blurb, recommendation, whatever you call it, from a book. And he did, but he sort of got on my ass a little bit about some positions I'd taken on some things. He takes no prisoners. But he wrote the blurb. He did do it.
Nice.
He seized the opportunity to get on my ass a little bit.
So I guess just to make it crystal clear, your current position on flip-flops, have you ever worn flip-flops ever?
No, it's they're like thongs for your feet.
Have you ever gotten grounded? Just barefoot in the grass?
Well, I stayed barefooted until I was 16 years old. We were raised barefoot.
But now,
when I was able to come up with a pair of double D Roper boots, I've been in them ever since.
Sleep in them.
Well, okay. So we're putting you in the hot seat here, and I feel like we're just getting after some clarity. Another topic that I wanted to just breeze over was you're a smart man. You get away with a lot with your Southern accent, but to this day, you refer to vegans still as vegans. And I know that's not how to say the word, but you're just like, I don't care. I'm going to say it my way. What?
No, that's just kind of the way that comes out. I can say vegan, but when I think about it, it's vegan. And that English grammar always kind of threw me a little bit. The rule is it's long E and that's just a short E and let's just use with an I. And I always struggled with that.
I just feel like your accent allows you to be so I feel like you and I are pretty honest people. Say it how it is. But you get away with a lot more than I do because your accent is so cute.
I weigh 240 pounds. That might help a little.
Fair.
I was gonna say, I think it's an age thing too. I think when you're a man and you're over 50, you just have a different presence in the room. People just listen a little bit differently.
Well, and I think that it's if you don't care much, people respond to sensitivities, and if you just really don't care too much what other people think, then they're less critical.
Good advice.
That's how I live.
I still don't give a shit what people think, but I still don't get away with as much as you do.
Katie, you get away with a lot.
Do
I? No, don't play victim with me, Sugar. You're a badass, and I recognized you as a badass before I ever met you at a what was that thing? There was some event in Atlanta that you went to, and you were in a booth right across from me.
Oh yeah,
And,
the Whole Foods producers thing.
I don't remember what it was, but you were the prettiest girl in the room, and all those young men were flirting with you, and you were like a dose of cold water on them. So don't you tell me.
It's kind of like your daughters, Jenny. I feel like Jenny and Katie have a lot of personality carryover. One time, you might not even know this story, Will, but one time we were at a conference in Colorado, in Boulder.
Oh.
And there was like this weird hit piece smear article that was put out before the conference about how terrible Katie and I were and how we basically just single-handedly put the Native American population in poverty by creating Epic. And this lady, Katie, was up on stage and she was already a little insecure. And Jenny, your daughter, was there and we kind of just said, hey, Jenny, we got this weird vibe about the event. The energy's a little bit off. This is kind of a super woke crowd. I don't know what's going to happen. And Jenny was like, I got your fucking back. And after Katie got on stage, I mean, it was like Jenny was Secret Service.
She was.
She scanned the crowd and she found one lady beelining towards Katie. And it was like a setup. This woman was actually the author of that piece. And she was coming up to confront you with a cell phone camera to try to get you to say something horrible. And Jenny was just like, I'm about to drop this lady right here.
I was literally like crawling under tables trying to get away from this lady. And Jenny was like, she fucking had my back.
Yeah, she would have gone to jail.
For real. And I think she really would have. It was amazing.
My daughters are all, they're tough. I give them credit. And they weren't raised to be tough. You know, I was, when my daughters were coming up, I was leaving home every morning at 5 and not getting back every night till 9 or 10. And my wife raised our children. And they were raised on the farm, but they were raised like suburb kids. They were on the farm, but they didn't work on the farm because I didn't have anything for them to do. We were cowboying and they didn't know how to do that. They went to ballet and piano lessons and all that stuff, softball but they just turned out to be really strong, tough ass people, which I'm glad. They've got to run this business, and I'm delighted they did, but I didn't expect it, and I don't really know how to credit that, but I'm very grateful for it.
It's because children are always observing. And so, intentionally or not, whatever you were doing, they were watching every second of it.
Whatever, but I'm very grateful for it.
That's really cool.
They're tough.
What are the kind of the characteristics that you think are valuable for children to embody, especially when you look at your daughters right now? Like you said, they're tough. What else do you see that makes you really proud and you think is important?
Lack of fear. There's a lot bad that can happen in any circumstance in the world, and you can go through life fearing that occasion or not fearing the occasion. And my daughters don't. I don't mean they're reckless. I don't mean that they leap blindly, but they're not afraid of the consequence. We do the best we can. If the circumstance emerges that is where something unpleasant has got to be done, we just do something unpleasant.
Yeah. Do you remember when? So whenever Epic was selling it to General Mills, you were the first person we told. And we came out to the ranch to tell you that because we just wanted to tell you face to face. And we were so horrified to tell you this because we didn't want you to think differently of us, or we didn't want it to compromise our relationship, especially as you being a friend and a supplier. And I remember you just had some profound insight on that very topic of fear. Do you remember what Will said about people in corporations operating out of fear, getting shot?
Yeah, I wrote it down on my phone.
Okay, if you don't remember what I'm saying, I'll do my best to paraphrase it, and then maybe you'll remember. But you said like in corporations, the person that sticks their neck out on the line and takes the risk, takes the chance, that's the person that's the first to get the boot, first to get fired if that plan doesn't work out. And so everyone that's operating in those systems is just operating from a place of security, no risk, and an aversion to that. You remember that a little bit?
It's consistent with what I believe. Yeah, so yeah, I think that one of the many things that's wrong with corporate America is this conditioning to be part of the pack, and not take the chance, not incur the risk. When I graduated from Georgia, I believed until about a week before graduation I was coming back home to run the farm. I don't know why I was so stupid as to think that my dad, who was a lot younger then than I am now, was going to just go inside and let me run the farm, but that's what I thought. And he told me one Sunday afternoon when I was leaving to go back to university that I need to get a job. I couldn't come back to the farm. So I did. Got a job with a Fortune 500 company. It was an ag co-op called Gold Kist. It's no longer in business. And I hated every friggin' day I worked for that company. But I did real good. I was the youngest regional manager they had, and I performed. But the reason that I performed and did well was certainly not that I was smarter than those other guys. I was not smarter than those other guys. Probably they were smarter than me. But I would take the risk. And it was a very corporate kind of a company. And taking risks was just not something that was done much. And the risks I took, for the most part, wound up being successful one way or the other. Sometimes it wasn't exactly the way I planned it, but it was made to work. So, I just believe that not having fear fear is just such an impediment to success, incredible impediment to success. And so many people live in fear. And I just want to get them by the ears and say, don't do that.
Well, you've taken that mindset and you've definitely, it was why you were able to transition your farm from conventional to regenerative. It's because you're like willing to take those risks. A lot of people are just so scared.
Well, fear is, there's nothing to fear but fear itself. And I don't know who said that, but that's just really a profound thing. And somehow our society just seems to live in fear, and it disturbs me. And my daughters don't.
Yeah. Well, we used to, we're with you in this fact that we've always operated independent family businesses, very entrepreneurial spirits. And when we were early in our entrepreneurial endeavors, we were always afraid of these big multinational companies. It's like, hey, they have so much power. They have the brightest people. They have unbelievable resources, crazy legal teams. At any given point in time, what we're doing, we could get smoked because we just don't have that talent and the coffers to accelerate growth. And it wasn't really until we started, that transition with Epic into General Mills that we saw these small companies, they have everything they need to win. They can move so much faster. They can take the right risk, the right calculated risk. And what's the worst thing that can happen if you take a risk and it doesn't work out, right? You just pick yourself back up and try again. And so that was a really clear moment for us that was very empowering for people who are independently owned, family owned, small entrepreneurial operators. You guys have such an advantage when facing up face to face with these big corporations.
and what you want to do, these, we've had a number of opportunities to sell our business to big companies and chose not to do it. It's okay if you do, but we chose not to. And the reason we chose not to is we wanted to remain in control, a small family-owned business. That was fine with us. And, getting, money for the transaction was less important to us than keeping control of the company. And when we made that decision, we inadvertently, or in addition to it, made the decision to keep it small because we can never be, but so big. And it's okay. It's fine. One of the things that is just so fortunate about the direction that we've come in for us is we don't want to have a big national or multinational company. We're literally not smart enough, sophisticated enough to run a company like that. But it's okay because we don't want to. And the direction we went in with White Oak Pastures almost ensured that we were going to stay local. I really don't think there should ever be or will ever be a big multinational White Oak Pastures kind of deal. I think we're meant to be local food suppliers. I think that one of the things that's most wrong with this really wrong system is how we have turned it into such a huge global food distribution system. And I think that's not where it's supposed to be. I'm glad I can get coffee and chocolate here, but I don't want to be dependent upon the big multinational companies to feed me. I want to be able to produce my food here. I think it's better for the land, for the animals. I know it's better for the community.
Taylor and I talk about this a lot, and we talk about what would actually grow in Texas. Like, what could we actually eat if we weren't importing food from the rest of the country and the rest of the world? And in Texas, it's literally like you would eat meat and maybe forage some berries, and that's kind of all we would have access to because the land just isn't suited to grow anything else, really.
Yeah, that's
the Native Americans that populated your part of the world, I'm sure were very, meat-centric diets.
Yeah.
So, I think another phrase that really sticks out when I think about talking to you on multiple occasions over the years, you like to talk about how every man needs a cunning plan. You say that, right? That's like
you need a cunning plan.
Absolutely.
And I probably said every man needs a cunning plan.
You did,
Katie, but I meant every person.
I'm not insulted by it.
Katie knows.
Okay, please don't be.
I'm not woke.
But gender, it's not gender specific. Cunning plans are very important across gender lines.
So, what is your cunning plan?
Of course, there are cunning plans evolve on a fairly regular basis, but it was to have this farm that we've got. It's pretty much similar to yours. It's pretty much worked out the way I wanted it to, or it's working out. There's no a start and stop to it. There's a start, and it goes on and leads to the next, to the next, to the next. And I have. One of the things that's really pleasant for me at this point in my life is so let me go back further. So, my great grandfather, grandfather, and father all ran this farm before I did, successionally. And they all ran it very autonomously. They were the only decision maker on the farm. They had people that worked for them, but they were the decision maker. And I came back and ran it the same way when I did take over the farm. I had 3 or 4 minimum wage sorts of people here that helped me run the farm, but I was the only decision maker. And when I started changing the farm, turning it into the meat distribution business, production business that we are, I still was the only decision maker. We got up, I bet I had 50 or 60 employees, and I was the only one that made decisions. I just talked to people all day long, didn't get much done. But we put other layers of finally had to put other layers of management in, and that wound up being very pleasant for me. And then when my two daughters came back, they became managers, and their spouses became managers, and now I technically still run the farm, but there are 7 directors that manage 20-something managers that manage 150 other employees. So that having that structure in place is just very pleasing to me. And putting that together was the Cunning plan for a couple of decades, and now operating it is the Cunning plan, and the succession program is the Cunning plan. I'm 69 years old, and I'm still, I'm still able to. I still work and will work as long as till I can't work anymore. But having a plan in place so that the farm will go on when I'm not here anymore is a big deal for me, and it's now in place. We've got that. If I fell over right now, the farm would be okay. It'd be fine.
That's amazing. We, going out to White Oak Pastures on multiple occasions, just the highlight of the trip for me. I mean, there's so much to take in, but I adore the tours that you give. And they're just so sweet and so personal. And I think like every time that Katie and I are home and we see someone driving down the highway like 40 miles under the speed limit, we're like, oh, there's Will Harris. And because on those tours, we really slow down to really take in all the fine details. Have you ever gotten a speeding ticket for driving too slow?
No. It's kind of funny. I was forever in trouble for driving too fast as a young man. I mean, I've had to get I call it rogues insurance. I couldn't get a regular insurance company to insure me, and it was horribly expensive and didn't have any coverage. And I've evolved full scale. If I was traveling, I'd probably drive fast now. But if I'm on White Oak Pastures, I want to go slow and look. That's the reason I'm out, is to look.
Yes. Yeah, but you drive quite a bit. I mean, you were out at our conference a couple of years ago, and you drove to Central Texas, which we appreciated that trip. And what's up with that? Like, is driving better than flying in general? Is that a general rule? Are you afraid of flying, or do you just like driving with your weapons, or what's going on?
I'm not afraid of anything, but I don't like flying. It's I'm not very tall, but I'm wide, and those little, even first class seats are so small, and I'm a little claustrophobic. I told you that earlier, and I just hate getting on a damn airplane, and I will fly, but if I can drive it in 12 or 13 hours, that'll be all right. And don't forget this, I'm 3.5 hours from the airport, the Atlanta airport. By the time I leave here and drive to the Atlanta airport, 3.5 hours. And you got to get there a couple hours before the plane takes off, or you're screwed in that big old airport. So that's, 5.5 hours coming and going. And then you got to be on the damn airplane with those. They always put me between two guys as big as I am. So it's just easier to drive.
What do you do when you're driving?
And when I drive, if there's a departure delay, I caused it.
Exactly.
What do you listen to? Podcasts, books? Do you listen to music? Do you listen to silence? What do you do?
No, I go. I go back and forth between. I love going back and forth between Fox and CNN. I just go back there. It's just fun to me to hear. And I don't believe either one of them, but to hear them report on an incident and get how how very different the perspectives are coming into it. It's hilarious to me.
I'm gonna have to try that one out.
I think I'll scramble my brain too much. That's amazing. You're really well known for your multi-species regenerative approach, and you raise different types of ruminants, different type of poultry animals. Are you at 12 species right now, or has it gone up or down? How many species of livestock right now are you guys raising?
10. Well, cows, hogs, sheep, goats, rabbits, chickens, turkeys, geese, guineas, and ducks is 10. Then there's bees, and I really have come to consider soil microbes like it's a species. I mean, there are a lot. When I said we raised 10 species, that was my belief. But the longer I've done this, the more things have all just run together, and I don't consider different species production like I used to. My whole perspective is continuing to evolve just as rapidly as it did 20 years ago. I mean, I just keep seeing it more and more differently.
That's why I love you.
I know, right?
Just constantly learning, constantly evolving.
That is very inspiring. I think one thing that sticks out to us, it's you never messed around with bison. You've done like every other land animal in North America that's like a livestock species, but you're like, I'm not doing bison. But is there something that I don't know about bison, or are you just bison phobic?
I can certainly explain it to you. I like bison. I think they're great. I enjoy looking at them, and I actually went over Alabama to buy a herd. I don't know, maybe 15 years ago. Small herd was selling, and I've got about 150 something miles of fence on this place. We got it cross fenced permanently, and it's from mostly some page wire. Most of it's high tensile wire. Most of it's 3 to 5 strands, depending on how much pressure each paddock is under. And I went and looked at those, and it has taken me all my life to build that 150 something miles of fence, and all my money to build that 150 something miles of fence. And I went over and looked at those bison, and I thought they were beautiful. And I knew my fence wouldn't hold them. And I knew I was a lot younger then, but I was too damn old to rebuild 150 something miles of fences. So I think bison are great. I just was completely focused on my large ruminants being cattle, and had built all my infrastructure to handle cattle. I've got a really nice corral system that your bison would tear all to pieces. And I was just too financially committed to cattle by the time bison became a thing. When I first started down this route, people were giving bison away. I mean, people were losing money. This is back in the 90s, maybe even before that. You couldn't give bison away, and I never considered that direction. And by the time I did, I was too financially invested in cattle as my large ruminants. But we want large ruminant and small ruminants and monogastrics, and you know how you stage the deal so that they can manage your land.
I think one of the coolest thing about your cows, though, is that these are some of the original descendants, of the herd that your great grandfather, some Harris family member of yours was managing many, many years ago. And so just having those genetics, circulating and the same animals within your family, that's so cool.
One of the things that made me really want to have bison, I told you I didn't and why I didn't, but I did want to. And the reason is, I'm sure you know, but a lot of people know, the cattle are not indigenous to North America. The cattle were brought over here originally by the Spaniards, and they went feral. And the cattle that my great-grandfather brought here were cracker cattle that were the descendants of those cattle that the Spaniards brought that went They went feral. And that's what my grandfather had. He saved his own heifers and saved his own bulls. My grandfather did. I think my dad is the one that started buying purebred bulls. My grandfather may have. I'm unclear on that, but it was fairly recently that we started buying purebred imported bulls to improve the herd. And between my dad and I bet you we've had at least one of every breed of bull that's ever been to Georgia, from Akayushi to Shorthorn to Brahman to and mongrelized. We kept the female. We always saved females and bought bulls, right? So the herd goes back to the original herd my great grandfather brought. But we mongrelized the hell out of them with that Flavor of the Month Bull Club. And probably 10 years ago, I don't really know how long ago it was, probably 10 years, I quit saving. I did not castrate a calf crop. It was when, I tell you what it was when I was doing business with Whole Foods Market. They formed a global animal partnership. And to get to step 5+, there's no physical alteration, so you couldn't castrate. So I said, shit, I'll try it. So I didn't castrate that crop and realized that I was buying better bulls. I mean, I was raising better bulls than I was buying. It just makes sense. In retrospect, I don't know why I was that stupid, because I had, 700, 800 mama cows at the time. So I was raising 300 or 400 bull calves, and I was buying bulls from a guy that had probably 50 cows, raising 25 bulls, and saving the best ones for himself.
Right.
So it's just the numbers. So I ceased to castrate and save my own bulls. I just love it. I just love that program, and it has changed my herd genetics drastically. My cows don't look the same. They're shorter, thicker, more muscular. I'm saving those kinds of bulls, and I'm literally developing a breed. It's full of that hodgepodge of genetics from all over the planet. But now I'm folding it back upon itself, and they're increasingly consistent, and it will be a breed of cattle one day in my grandson's lifetime.
That's so cool.
I'm really excited. I'm really excited about that.
Yeah. Well, the beef tastes amazing too. Very adapted for your region. When we were there, probably the last time we were there, Katie might have even been pregnant. We went to the abattoir with you, and we were walking around, and there was a fresh heart in the abattoir, and you pulled out a pocket knife.
It was a liver.
Oh, it was a liver?
I was pregnant, and he made me eat it, and then I was like, I'm going to act really tough for Will. And I was chewing it, and I was like, uh-oh, I'm going to throw up, uh-oh.
No, you volunteered, and you loved it. I don't know why you're acting like that.
I did. I loved it when I wasn't pregnant and I had it there, but I didn't love it as I was pregnant and chewing it.
That was a pretty hardcore move. I love that moment, though. Katie is, I was getting some input on this interview and some things that she wanted to talk about. And she had one thing. She was just like, you better ask Will this question. You better ask Will this question. And it's kind of a new segment, and it's Would You Rather. Do you remember playing that game when you were a little kid? Like, would you rather do this or that? And both questions suck, but you have to pick one. Did you ever play that?
I'm not too old to start. So.
It's the best game.
Okay.
This will become your new nightly dinner time routine with your family. Would you rather?
Do you want to ask him, or do you want me to ask him?
You go ahead.
Okay, the rules of this game are pretty simple. You have to pick option A or option B, but it's a hard choice. Both options kind of suck, but it's just it helps you frame where your head's coming from and maybe give an explanation. So, Katie's question is: would you rather forcibly sell your land to Bill Gates or to China?
Wow.
Oh, yeah.
Wow.
Horrible scenario.
It's a good one.
Who who gives a damn? I mean,
At that point, it might be the same choice.
Yeah, I mean, both of them are horrible results, and I just can't imagine. I guess Bill Gates, because at least I could understand what he said. But I probably wouldn't like what he said. But,
at least you could comprehend.
I think that I don't think that certainly I don't know Bill Gates. I don't know much about him. I've read a little bit, not much, not as much as most people. But I don't necessarily. I mean, and maybe he's evil and horrible. I don't have any right to think that. But I do know that he is a very linear thinking technocrat. And that's who ought not own the land. That's who that's who ought not control the land. He can own anything he wants to. This is America. You can buy anything you want to buy, and I respect it. I go to war to help so that you could do it. But bring in that very linear, technical approach to a living biological farm environment is absolutely the wrong thing to do. And apparently he is, he's been so successful doing what he's doing. I can't see him rethinking it. I get it.
Well, I'll let him know that you picked him.
Okay. All right.
So
I think we could probably edit that to where you said Bill Gates. Yeah.
Yeah.
Probably
Bill Gates.
just edit that. That'll be the highlight for the show. Bill Gates.
Yeah.
All right. Well, so last question that we have for you is that actually the name of this podcast. But I'm going to form it in the frame of a question. Where does hope grow?
Hope grows in any ecosystem that is managed in a way that allows it to manifest itself. One of the things I think we do so wrong is, and I'll say this: I got dear friends who are responsible for these agricultural management certification systems. And I respect them. They're my friends. I love them. But those systems tend to treat all land the same. I mean, you have rules that you're to follow, and they're good rules, but they're the same in Maine and Oregon and Arizona and Florida. Right. And the ecosystems are different from here. 5 miles that way versus 5 miles that. The ecosystems are so different. And where we have really just absolutely flown in the face of nature is having these management systems for managing these ecosystems that are, it's got to be something that can be taught at the University of Georgia or Auburn or the University of Florida or wherever. And it just doesn't work like that. It's too individually tailored to fit certain ecosystems. And when we have these geographically diverse systems that we try to put in place, it doesn't work. It just absolutely does not allow nature to optimize itself.
So I'm going to rephrase no, I'm not. I'm going to re-ask it. So where does hope grow?
Hope grows in any ecosystem that is managed the way it should be. I mean, think about that. That's what I meant to answer the first time. I just got off on a tangent. But you think about how beautiful the Earth is. Like those shots from outer space. The Earth is just beautiful.
Mm-hmm.
But then we destructive humans, are fucking it up so incredibly wrongly that hope can't grow. Hope grows on that beautiful, unaffected earth that is not so adversely affected by this human beings, this horrible species called humans.
Depressing.
Will, so the new book is called A Bold Return to Giving a Damn. People can buy that directly through whiteoakpastures.com along with a bunch of different yummy meats get delivered to your door, or Amazon. I think I'll pre-order mine on Amazon probably. But when does that book get launched officially? When is it shipping?
The 10th, next week.
Holy moly.
Are y'all doing a big celebration? Or is it just another night?
Life is a celebration.
Yeah.
We're celebrating it all the time, and but it's being sold by all the usual suspects. And on our website it tells who all the distributors are selling, Amazon, all the rest of them.
Okay, good. Well, we're going to start a book club here in Austin, probably with the Force of Nature team. Mandatory reading. We're going to discuss it. It's going to be, I just can't wait. So thank you for...
Don't make them do it. No, that's how you make people hate you. You give them the option, but don't make them do it.
Oh, we're doing it.
No, that's like self-help books or something. This is just a good story book by a legendary American hero. So thank you so much for everything you've done, Will.
Yeah, you're amazing. Thank you.
Yeah, it's always a blessing. Yeah, absolutely. Thank you, sir. Have a good day.